The miracle doctor won't be a kept man. My heart belongs ashore. Chapter 691. At Fawkes City Airport, Kiran looked towards Shuri Caden, who had come to see him off. Don't worry, I will definitely wake Sawyer and the others. I believe you, it's just. Shuri's face showed complexity. She had not expected Kiran to leave suddenly. Seeing him with Sunlander the day before, she had given up all hope, knowing she would never have him. Now, as Kiran was leaving, though he was taking Sawyer Sinfield and his wife, along with Aurora Sinfield with him, her heart still feared that this might be the last time she saw him. I will personally bring Sawyer and the others back, Kiran, seeing her distress, promised solemnly. Do you promise? Shuri's eyes lit up with hope as she anxiously sought confirmation. I promise, Kiran nodded with a smile. Suddenly, Shuri boldly threw herself into Kiran's arms for a quick hug before letting go, stealing a glance at Snow, who was busy arranging for Sawyer and others to board the plane. Relieved that Snow hadn't noticed, she breathed easier. I'll wait for you, Shuri said, her face blushing as she quickly walked away. Ruth Sutton approached. Mr. York, Fox Hill Villa will always be available for you. You're always welcome to stay. Thank you, Kiran smiled and nodded. It's a pity that Mr. York had to leave in such a hurry. My father couldn't come to see you off personally, Ruth mentioned regretfully. The mountains are high and the rivers are long. There's still time. Kiran patted her shoulder reassuringly. Takes care. Ruth felt she wasn't as brave as Shuri. She didn't dare hug Kiran, just smiled and said goodbye. This farewell, who knows when they would meet again. Without me in his heart, what can I do with mine? Ruby Loughlin did not come. Regarding the Loughlin family, Kiran no longer pursued their old scores, as the real issue lay with the people of Sunland. Hugh Loughlin had been cuckolded. After bidding farewell to the two women, Kiran left with Lillian Yanez, Snowzander, Yvonne Quinn, Joe Queen, Faber Luther, Father Larson, and the Healing Prince, heading back to Bayville. This trip to Fawkes City had been quite fruitful for Kiran, not only in terms of his own power, but also in gaining a comprehensive understanding of many matters. Now, his focus had shifted from avenging against the Imperial Dragon to protecting the Dragon Vein. No matter the reason, he was still a citizen of the Dragon Kingdom. Only with a country could he have a home. Thinking of no country, no home, Kiran became annoyed with Lindsay Ludwig, who had sold Dragonsmount. He swore that if he saw her again, he would give her a thorough beating, maybe even spank her. Kiran and his group successfully arrived in Bayville. They all emerged from the airport. Snowzander was looking for her secretary, Bella Muses, who had been called to pick them up in advance. However, looking around, she couldn't see her. Just then, they heard arguing nearby, cursing, and a woman's crying. Kiran and the others looked towards the noise. Kiran immediately saw that the woman was Bella Muses. Bella's in trouble! Who did it? Snowzander started running towards the direction of the commotion. Wait here for me, Kiran instructed Lillian Yanez and the others before following Snow. You filthy scoundrels, I'm going to call the police. Bella struggled to break free from a man's embrace while crying out. Call the police? Weren't you the one who seduced us just now? The man holding Bella said with a sleazy expression. Spouting nonsense. Let go of me, you filthy scoundrels. A bystander shouted at the sleazy man. Damn it, what's it to you? Thud. One of the man's companions kicked the bystander. Ah, the man fell to the ground, clutching his head, dodging left and right. The others who wanted to help backed off on seeing the fierce response. Yay! The man holding Bella let out a triumphant noise. They are Sunland people! Someone recognized the bully and shouted out loud. Let her go. Initially hesitant and fearful, the crowd now surged with patriotism, boiling with anger, and began to step forward to rescue Bella. Damn! The man cursed in Sunland language again. Let go of Bella! Snow shouted when she reached them. Hearing Snow's voice, Bella looked up as if seeing a savior. Miss Zander, save me, please. Sob. Yay, another beauty, and this one's even prettier. The man holding Bella leered at Snow's graceful figure, his eyes nearly blazing with lust and growing even wilder. Let her go now, or I'm calling the police. Snow threatened as she pulled out her phone, ready to dial. Snow's phone. Sweetheart, trying to threaten us? The man's companion sneered as he attempted to snatch just as his hand was about to touch Snow's phone. His hand was suddenly grabbed, and Kiran's cold voice followed. You might need a new hand in your next life. The man was furious. Damn you, crack! A crisp sound of bone breaking cut him off. It took a few seconds for the man to react, and then he screamed in agony, his features twisted in pain. Damn it! His companions cursed and moved to step forward. Swoosh! Kiran had already stepped forward, grabbing the man holding Bella by the arms. You won't be needing these hands anymore. Crack! As Kiran spoke, he twisted sharply, breaking the man's arms. He then threw the dislocated limbs at the approaching assailants. Bang, bang, bang. Successive sounds followed as the attackers were knocked down. Ah. The man whose arms were broken came to his senses and howled in unbearable pain, hopping around. "Who are you?" the man, with a contorted face, asked Kiran. "Dragonslander," Kiran replied with authority. "Dragonslander?" the man gaped. "Dragonslanders." The crowd of onlookers, energized and feeling vindicated, shouted back in support. The Sunlanders' faces turned pale with fear, and they began to retreat. Kiran helped up the beaten bystander, quickly administered first aid, and patted him on the shoulder. "Well done! You can come to work for the Xander Corporation." The man was initially stunned. Then his eyes lit up with joy. Your young Master York?" Kiran nodded. "I am Kiran York. Young Master York." The crowd cheered loudly. Feeling the warmth of the crowd's enthusiasm, Kiran smiled and nodded. "Thank you, everyone." "Thank you, Mr. York, for standing up for us," the people said, still eyeing the Sunlanders warily. The Sunlanders, nervous and intimidated, didn't dare speak up. They looked fierce on the outside, but were cowardly on the inside. "Let's go," Kiran said, leading Snow and Bella away from the scene. The crowd cheered and dispersed, leaving the Sunlanders to stew in their anger. "Call Lord Ferran," one of the men with broken arms said through clenched teeth as he dialed to report the incident. Elsewhere, Lord Ferran was furiously looking at his companion, Fukada. "Go and take care of that beast immediately." "Yes!" Fukada, who had just arrived in Bayville from Fawkes City, immediately agreed to take revenge on Kiran without asking who it was. Chapter 692. "Bella, what happened?" Snow Xander asked as she walked with Bella Muses, her arm around her. "Director Xander, when I arrived at the airport and was waiting for you, these men came out from the airport and started harassing me. When I resisted, they became even more aggressive," Bella replied, still visibly shaken. Snow's pretty face turned pale with anger. "These people are despicable. The bystanders today were great. If it hadn't been for their help, I dread to think what might have happened," Bella continued, her face flushed as she hesitated to speak further. Kiran York's expression grew serious. He hadn't expected Bayville to become so complicated and unpredictable. "Honey, what's wrong?" Snow noticed Kiran's silence and quickly asked. "It's nothing." Kiran didn't mention he reckoned that they must be bold because masters from Sunland had arrived. "Really? It's nothing?" Snow pressed, skeptical. Kiran smiled. "What could be wrong?" He looked at Bella. "Don't be scared. I'm here now." Bella nodded, somewhat calmer. Snow took Bella back and briefly explained the situation. Faber Luther and others were furious, but Kiran remained as calm as water, and ultimately, everyone fell silent. Only Lillian Yanes's eyebrows twitched tightly twice, clearly pondering the issue. Kiran and the others drove back to Bayville. As they departed, several men from Sunland also started following them. Meanwhile, they kept in touch with Fukada, constantly reporting Kiran's location. Upon hearing that Kiran and his group were returning to Bayville, Fukada boldly parked his car at the highway exit waiting for Kiran's arrival. Half an hour later, as Kiran's car exited the highway, Fukada immediately drove up, blocking them aggressively. "Idiots who don't know whether they're alive or dead," Joe Queen cursed as someone blocked the car, and Faber Luther and the others were about to get out. "No need. I'll handle this." Kiran gestured for them to stay put. Faber and the others silently looked at Kiran. The aggressive men from Sunland even rammed into Kiran's car, followed by mocking laughter, deliberately provoking them. The anger in Kiran's car intensified. A chill flashed in Kiran's eyes as he stepped out of the car. Fukada and Aoki Kosner also got out of their car. When Aoki Kosner saw Kiran, she was overjoyed. It was as if she had seen the sun in the rain. However, Fukada seemed to have seen a storm. His legs were trembling. If not for the GU mistress's treatment, he would have died that day. He was supposed to return to Sunland but came to Bayville because he had received a notice to come. He did not expect to meet Kiran here. When Fukada saw that it was Kiran, his head buzzed. His mustache started twitching. He was about to go crazy. Kiran was a fiend. The man from Sunland who had lost his hands also got out, glaring at Kiran with a fierce hatred. "Boy, next year today, I'll make you watch the child your woman bears for me," he threatened with a sinister laugh, his followers echoing with laughter. "Everyone gets a turn." "He's trying to kill me," Kiran said with a cold laugh, staring at Fukada, who shivered with fear. "Fukada, why aren't you moving?" The man bellowed angrily at Fukada. "Shut up!" Kiran's voice was icy and impatient. Fukada trembled. "You heard him." Fukada looked palely at Kiran, pitiful and afraid. Knowing how fearsome Gu Mistress was and how even she couldn't handle Kiran, and seeing how Kiran had effortlessly taken down his 3 ninja subordinates, he dared not make a move. "I'm annoyed," Kiran stated nonchalantly. I'm more annoyed, the Sunland man shouted in anger. Kiran looked at Fukada, who suddenly felt he might have to kill the Sunland man himself. You should die, Kiran said flatly. Me die? The man laughed. One phone call and I can have you killed. I am Hao Urjun, and my brother is none other than Lord Farron. His companions urged Fukada on, but he, sweating profusely, looked at Kiran, pleadingly asking, Mr. York, can we not kill? Then you die, Kiran replied coldly. Aye, Fukada stuttered. Fukada, do it, the man shouted, but instead of moving, Fukada knelt before Kiran. Young Master York, aye. Then you might as well die yourself, Kiran said, closing his eyes, no longer paying attention to Fukada. Fukada, you're kneeling to him? You should die. Hao Urjun was in disbelief, furious. Fukada, kill this guy, his companion also shouted. Kiran remained silent, just looking into the distance. Fukada, his back soaked with sweat and pale-faced, finally stood up and turned towards the man. You should die, Fukada cursed at Hao Urjun, then moved quickly forward. You, the Hao Urjun began angrily. Go die, Fukada said. With a flash of white light, his hand moved. The man instinctively raised his arms to shield his neck, but he no longer had hands. Just like that, his head was gone. Thud! His head fell to the ground like a ball. Thud! His body followed, hitting the ground. The scene fell into deathly silence. Hao Urjun was dead. With a cold expression, Fukada turned to face the other Sunland people. Aoki, Cosner, and the others began to make their move. Chapter 693. In an instant, the scene was drenched in blood. The entire Sunland gang had all become corpses lying on the ground. Kiran York stood there as calm as still water. Fukada's face was pale as he nervously looked at Kiran, young Master York. It's over, Kiran announced, and then turned to get into his car, leaving the scene as if it had nothing to do with him. Fukada quickly organized his people to dispose of the bodies and fled Bayville overnight. He never wanted to face Kiran again. Lord Farron was waiting for his brother Hao Urjun to return, growing impatient as there was no sign of him. He tried contacting Fukada but couldn't reach him. Realizing something was wrong, Lord Farron sent people to investigate and soon learned of the incident. Lord Farron flew into a rage. Damn it, they killed my brother. I won't let Fukada die an easy death. A tall, slender woman dressed in black, both beautiful and sensual, spoke. Lord Farron, I think the one who really should die is Kiran York. If it weren't for him, your brother wouldn't have died. Ida Misa, I must kill Kiran York. Lord Farron fumed. Lord Farron, this incident is actually a warning from Kiran York telling us to be cautious. If we rush into conflict with him now, we'll just be playing into his hands, Ida Misa advised. What do you mean? Lord Farron asked, displeased. Did my brother die for nothing? What I mean is, remember this incident. Our focus should be on disrupting the development of Dragonsmount. Kiran's hospital is there and hasn't been built yet. Let's see what he can do about that, Aida suggested. Ada, your suggestion isn't great, but it allows us to legitimately make Kiran York our enemy, which is good. Lord Farran, our goal is to buy time and keep Kiran York in check while we sabotage Dragonsmount. Ada paused before continuing. This wouldn't have happened if your brother hadn't been lecherous. He brought this on himself. Damn it, Lord Farran cursed. Hi! Ada quickly bowed her head. A flash of rage crossed Lord Farran's face, but he restrained himself. Kiran York, we'll take our time with you. Lord Farran, you're wise, Ada confidently said. Kiran York is just a brute seeking revenge. He prefers a direct approach. Engaging him in a reckless conflict will only intensify the clash with us, which is different from our current situation. Lord Farran finally resigned himself. I understand. Let our people going in to scout hurry up and try to sabotage Dragonsmount as soon as possible. Hi! Ada responded and turned to leave. Lord Farran clenched his fist. Kiran York, I'll let you live a few more days. Meanwhile, Kiran had arranged for Sawyer Sinfield and others to stay at the Bayville Hotel, which belonged to Yvonne Quinn, making it convenient for their stay. Kiran and Snow Xander went home. Upon their return, Serena Zimmerman quickly found out and ran up to greet them. Seeing Kiran, she didn't say a word but hugged him tightly. Faced with this bold and beautiful woman, Kiran was somewhat taken aback, finding her more dangerous than any enemy. Snow winked at Kiran and headed to the bathroom, leaving space for them. I missed you so much, Serena said softly once they were alone. I have something to tell you, Kiran said, gently pushing her away. What is it? Sawyer Sinfield and his family haven't woken up. You haven't found a way? Serena let go of Kiran, her expression serious. The goo poison in them is the life-death goo, but I'm not confident about how to break it, so I haven't made a move. Doesn't Yvonne Quinn know? She hasn't said. Kiran shook his head. Where are they? Left in Fawkes? Serena asked. I brought them back to Bayville. I've placed them in the Bayville Hotel, hoping Yvonne Quinn would help look after them. You're still trying to test Yvonne Quinn, aren't you? Serena asked. Kiran didn't deny it and nodded truthfully. The life-death goo inside Sawyer Sinfield's family is definitely related to your brain zombie goo and love spell goo. You shouldn't act rashly, Serena advised. Kiran remained silent. Serena, calm down. We need to be cautious with this. Okay, Kiran agreed. I'm going to check on Margaret and Rain. Serena nodded. Kiran left to visit the neighboring room where Margaret Wilson and Rainfrost stayed. Seeing Kiran return, Margaret wept with joy. Rain tried to control herself, but eventually cried as well. Mom, I'm back safe and sound, aren't I? Kiran smiled. That's good. Margaret wiped her tears. I'm most worried about Rain. She's been unable to eat. Look how thin she's gotten. Mom, what are you talking about? Rain blushed with embarrassment. I just came to say hello. You can rest assured, Kiran reassured them. The two nodded. Thinking of Snow Xander, a shadow fell over their hearts again. They could not have Kiran. After chatting with him briefly, Kiran returned to Snow's room. Snow Xander and Serena were chatting when Kiran returned. They looked up at him. Serena, stay here with Snow tonight. I'm heading to Dragonsmount now. To Dragonsmount now? Both women asked. Get some rest early, Kiran said, then grabbed his car keys and left. The two women ran to the window, watching Kiran drive away, their hearts filled with worry. Kiran sat in the car, his eyes cold. Dragonsmount was like his Achilles' heel. No one could touch it. It was not just the humiliation and hatred of the York family, but also carried the peace of Dragonsland. Those who disturbed Dragonsmount undoubtedly must die. Kiran drove swiftly towards Dragonsmount. Arriving at the base of Dragonsmount, he saw fences encircling the entire area, sealing it off as if it were completely locked down. Seeing this, Kiran's anger surged. He pulled out his phone and quickly dialed Lindsay Ludwig. The phone connected quickly, and Lindsay's joyful voice rang out. Kiran! You wretched woman! Who allowed you to sell Dragonsmount? Kiran cursed fiercely. You. Lindsay was infuriated, upset by his lack of concern and the accusations, her anger rising. It's mine. I'll sell it if I want to. Next time I see you, I'll sell you, Kiran said angrily. Fine. I'm your woman. If you don't mind being cuckolded, sell me. I could even work as a hostess. Lindsay snapped back without care. Get lost, crazy woman. Kiran's rage peaked. He hung up the phone and strode towards the interior of Dragonsmount. At that moment, in the dense woods of Dragonsmount, several tents housed a dozen Sunland men laughing and enjoying themselves, unaware that Kiran had arrived, ready to send them to meet the King of Hell. Chapter. Mr. Leo, how long are we going to be here? A drunken man asked, looking toward the tall man in the center. Marcus Leo was the leader of these people, tall in stature, exuding a strong sense of arrogance and an air of command. He wrapped his arm around a seductive woman beside him. We wait for Lord Ferran's arrangements, but for now, our focus is to go down and explore. I really hope it ends soon, the man who had just spoken remarked. Is little Lucas eager to descend the mountain? Marcus joked. Little Lucas did not respond, but glanced at the woman in Marcus's arms. Marcus, seeing a similar sentiment in the eyes of the others, realized what was happening. This time, they had brought only one woman, Kasumi Haruna, up the mountain, naturally his own plaything. Seeing the flame in everyone's eyes, Marcus laughed. If you like, I'll give her to you all. Let's share her together. Little Lucas and the others' eyes gleamed with excitement and anticipation. Surprisingly, Kasumi Haruna showed no fear, her eyes alight with excitement instead. The atmosphere here soon became even more pleasant as everyone began to look forward to the night. The mountain was lush with green trees and blooming flowers. The night was quiet, occasionally punctuated by birdsong. If there were songs from men and women added to that, it would be even more beautiful. Especially now, with no concerns or shame among them, it was even more heart-stirring. Cheers! Little Lucas raised his glass in a toast to Marcus. Ha ha! Marcus laughed heartily, pushing Kasumi Haruna toward the other men to serve them. Little Lucas and the others were overjoyed, beside themselves with happiness. Little Lucas and the others went wild. Marcus, however, sat quietly, his gaze fixed on a pile of boxes in front of him, which seemed to be his real focus. Soon the sounds of men and women were heard, and Marcus seemed even happier, drinking merrily alone. Kiran York, who had been making his way quietly, soon heard the noises and followed the sound. When he arrived and saw the debauched scene with little Lucas and the others, a murderous intent surged in his heart, a thought emerging, despicable beasts. However, he did not intervene in the frenzy of the men and women, but turned his attention to Marcus. Marcus had also noticed Kiran by now. Who are you? The one who sends you to your death, Kiran stated calmly. To hell. Marcus raised his voice and shouted. Little Lucas let go of Kasumi Haruna, and she fell to the ground with a thump, crying out in pain. Damn. Little Lucas and the others, pulling up their trousers, rushed to surround Kiran. Kiran did not attack, but sat down calmly and picked up a stick from the ground. Now, I'm giving you a chance to live. Go to hell, Little Lucas, enraged that his good time was almost at its climax only to be ruined by Kiran's arrogance, charged at Kiran, ready to fight to the death. Thwack! The stick in Kiran's hand broke at one end and flew out, stabbing into Little Lucas's throat. Ah! Little Lucas let out a gruesome scream, his hands clutching his throat, eyes wide with terror and confusion. Marcus and the others saw that the stick in Kiran's hand was shorter and inhaled sharply. Next one who wants to die, step forward, Kiran addressed the others. Marcus and the rest fell silent, their eyes filled with fear and apprehension. Now, tell me what you're here for. Kiran looked at them. Marcus and his group remained silent, wary of Kiran, eyes full of caution. No one speaking? As Kiran spoke, another piece of the stick flew out, and another person fell to the ground dead. Life and death at this moment depended merely on Kiran's word. Kiran's decisive and ruthless actions deeply shocked Marcus and the others. The group began to sweat, frightened. Facing Kiran was like facing the Grim Reaper. They seemed to have no ability to resist. Finally, someone couldn't take it anymore. We came here to. Shut up! Marcus shouted, interrupting his subordinate. The man quickly shut his mouth. Thwack! Another piece of Kiran's stick flew out again, and the man who had just spoken clutched his neck, his eyes bulging as he fell backward to the ground, dead. Speaking useless words. Might as well not speak at all. Kiran looked at the remaining three men, his murderous intent palpable. The three looked at Marcus, their eyes filled with panic. Their companion was about to speak, but speaking had proved futile and still resulted in death. To hell! Marcus, furious, stood up and aimed a spinning kick at Kiran. Kiran did not dodge, but simply shook the stick in his hand. Thwack! The sound of the stick hitting its target echoed through the air, followed by the sight of blood splattering in the darkness lit by the campfire. Ah! Marcus screamed as his crashed to the ground, a bloody hole in his calf where a piece of stick had buried itself entirely into his flesh. The remaining men, terrified and trembling violently, sat on the ground with a thud, their faces as pale as paper. Kiran, like a grim reaper of the night, struck terror in their hearts. Who exactly are you? Marcus lay on the ground, clutching his leg and shouting. Call your boss, I'll talk to him, Kiran ordered calmly. Marcus, enraged, blurted, Dream on, I. Thwack, the sound of the stick hitting body, this time adding another bloody hole to Marcus's right leg, blood splattering. The men blinked, unsure if they were seeing correctly. I have no patience, Kiran continued. Curse you, Marcus rolled on the ground, cursing. Curse all you want. Feels great to be in agony, doesn't it? Kiran mocked. What exactly are you? Marcus started arguing, but quickly clammed up, digging for his phone with his hands. His earlier questions had got his legs crippled, and now he feared further mutilation. Kiran held back and waited as Marcus made the call. The phone quickly connected, and Marcus put it on speaker. Lord Ferran, we've encountered a bizarre and twisted person on Dragonsmount. What do you mean by bizarre and twisted? Lord Ferran demanded angrily. He's extremely cruel, killing if we don't answer. Both my legs are now useless. What the hell? Lord Ferran bellowed in rage. Lord Ferran? Kiran chuckled mockingly. Who are you? Lord Ferran demanded furiously. How Arjun is what to you? Kiran asked calmly. That's my brother. Oh, Kiran acknowledged. Who exactly are you? Lord Ferran pressed. The one who sent your brother on his way. You are Kiran York, Lord Ferran accused. Kiran sneered back, no. Lord Ferran, you dare not admit it? I am the one who sends you on your way. Chapter. There was silence on the other end of the phone. Damn it! Lord Ferran felt his dignity trampled upon. His angry curse shattered the silence, signaling his fury to Marcus and the others. Just wait for me to get there. Otherwise, prepare to collect the bodies, Kiran York declared, then turned to Marcus. The phone is no longer of any use. Marcus didn't quite grasp Kiran's meaning, but still nodded woodenly, hanging up the phone. On the other end, an infuriated Lord Ferran threw his phone to the ground. Ida Misa, who had just cleaned up and dressed in an enticing outfit to tempt Lord Ferran, spoke calmly. Lord Ferran, we must change our strategy. What strategy? Lord Ferran asked, struggling to contain his anger. Kiran clearly doesn't play by conventional rules. He headed straight for Dragonsmount, apparently aware of our secrets. In this case, confronting him directly might actually backfire. Misa analyzed. What else can we do if we don't confront him directly? We are not in control anymore. Lord Ferran was already getting up, preparing to head to Dragonsmount. Let's simply stop worrying about Marcus and the others. Let them be. Could Kiran really come here and kill you? Misa suggested. Lord Ferran fell silent, inwardly fearful of Kiran, especially since Fukada had already been scared off, but still reluctantly asked, "Are we just supposed to endure this?" Misa shook her head. "It's not about enduring. It's about biding our time." "Biding what?" Lord Ferran asked, clearly dissatisfied. Misa's eyes revealed a cold smirk. "We don't confront Kiran directly. We just came to Bayville to invest. Would Kiran dare to kill us then? We're developing Dragonsmount. How we develop it is our business. Will Kiran allow it? If he dares to stop us or openly becomes our enemy, then it's not just about his strength anymore, but it involves national issues," Misa stated, managing to control Lord Ferran's rage. "Kiran is trying to provoke us, wanting to quickly resolve this matter. By not giving him the chance, what can he do?" Misa made her point once again. "Fine, we'll treat Marcus as a disposable pawn," Lord Ferran decided, internally relieved. Misa stepped forward, lifting her pale, delicate hand to trace lightly across Lord Ferran's chest, her eyes brimming with allure. Lord Ferran enjoyed the moment and they embraced and went to bed. Marcus and the others were left to their fate. Poor Marcus foolishly waited for Lord Ferran's arrival. Half an hour passed, and when he did not appear, the group's faces showed increasing panic and confusion. Kiran felt a slight regret in his heart. He wanted to quickly resolve this issue, to kill Lord Ferran. Unexpectedly, the other side had treated Marcus and his group as expendable. "It seems your fate is to die." Lying on the ground, Marcus instinctively shrank back, his eyes filled with fear and terror. The remaining men began crying out loud. I'll talk! One of them shouted, terrified of being killed. Our task was to blow up Dragonsmount. We are currently surveying, looking for the right spots to place explosives. Yes, we're looking for the spots, just started today, another added. Your seat is right on top of the explosives, someone pointed out to Kiran. The four men now stared at Kiran, waiting to see his reaction to the mention of explosives, only to be disappointed. Kiran sat there, calm and composed, as if he hadn't heard. The men looked at each other as if seeing a ghost, wondering if there weren't any explosives underneath him or if he wasn't afraid. What kind of person is Lord Ferran? Kiran slowly asked. He is the head of Yasuda Corporation in Bayville, and the development of Dragonsmount here is entirely under his charge, Marcus hurriedly responded. He's with the Yasuda Corporation, right? Kiran inquired. Yes, the men hastily replied. All right then. Kiran stood up, looking towards where a petrified Kasumi Haruna lay. Kasumi Haruna's body was ice cold, as if death itself had its gaze fixed on her. She instinctively shrank as Kiran beckoned. You, come here, May. Kasumi Haruna's face was filled with terror. Hesitatingly, she approached. Her clothes disheveled and trembling, she looked at Kiran, her face a mix of fear and an attempt to flirt. What do you want me to do? She glanced at Kiran's pants, mistaking his intentions. Record everything these four just said, including about the explosives, Kiran instructed. Marcus and the others turned pale, looking at Kiran. Record it well, and you live. Record it poorly. Kiran turned away to look at the distant woods, ignoring the five. Kasumi Haruna quickly grabbed her phone and began recording. Marcus, your life depends on this. I'll speak first. The man who had spoken up first was also the first to start recording. For their lives, Marcus and the others obediently complied. Soon, the recording was complete, including footage of the explosives. Kasumi Haruna handed the phone to Kiran. It's done, all done. Kiran took the phone, reviewed the recording, and was satisfied. He sent a copy to his own phone, then looked at Marcus. Where does Lord Ferran live? Bayville Shangri-La Hotel, Marcus hurriedly replied. Rest here nicely, Kiran told Kasumi Haruna. Watch these four men, and you can live. Kiran then left. Kasumi Haruna's heart screamed in agony. How could she possibly keep watch over four men? Marcus was incapacitated, which was a relief as he couldn't move. But what about the other three? She had a sudden idea and, without a second thought, threw herself into one of the men's arms. Unfortunately, the man was so frightened by Kiran that he had lost all desire and ability. Kasumi Haruna miserably tried all her methods to elicit a response from them. Kiran, meanwhile, paid no attention to the situation behind him. He trusted that the four men wouldn't dare flee, or they would regret it. Kiran had already driven to the Bayville Shangri-La Hotel. He arrived at the hotel in the middle of the night. The receptionist, half asleep, was startled upon seeing Kiran. When she saw his handsome and dashing appearance, she instantly brightened up, standing up with her legs tightly crossed, her heart screaming, "What a handsome man!" With a charming smile, Kiran asked, "Beautiful! Which room is Lord Farron staying in? Sunland National? The receptionist asked, her eyes glowing, a broad smile on her face. Yes, sweet. Thanks. Kiran stepped into the elevator. The receptionist hadn't yet recovered from Kiran's departure, her eyes twinkling with stars. When Kiran reached the suite, he heard a buzzing noise inside. Kiran's lips curved into a smile. Nice sound. Chapter 696. Kiran's voice silenced the room instantly. Only the buzzing sound continued to echo. I was talking about the buzzing sound, Kiran calmly added. Damn it! Lord Farron's pride was wounded. He threw down what he was holding, leaped out of bed in his shorts, and ran out. Kiran, how did you get into our room? I came to treat you, Kiran joked as he glanced at Lord Farron's groin. Don't worry, I can save you the trouble. Damn it! Lord Farron furiously looked around for something to strike Kiran with. I remember in your Sunland movies, the women are all very polite. I really don't understand how they ended up serving a beast like you, Kiran taunted. Damn it! Lord Farron grabbed a cup from the table to throw at Kiran. Kiran, would you like to experience the politeness of a Sunland woman? Wrapped in a towel with her long legs largely exposed, Ada stepped forward, her eyes twinkling with amusement. Her beautiful oval face was radiant with satisfaction, clearly having enjoyed the earlier activities. Thinking of the noise just moments ago, Kiran smiled and said, I think you should be polite to the machine instead. Ida, unoffended, wrapped her arms around Lord Farron's arm and looked at Kiran. This is private property, and we could call the police on you for intrusion. Go ahead and call them, Kiran retorted, pulling out his phone to show a video that Kasumi Haruna had recorded. I believe many people would find this interesting. Lord Farron and Aida were shocked to see the video, not expecting Kiran to have intimidated Gu and the others. What do you want? Lord Farron demanded. Leave Dragonsmount and leave Bayville, Kiran said, lounging on a sofa, watching them with amusement. That's impossible, Lord Farron angrily declared. Ida was calmer, smiling slyly at Kiran. Even if we leave, others will come. Anyway, we own Dragonsmount now. You have no right to interfere. Kiran raised an eyebrow at Ida. You're smarter than Lord Farron. Thank you, Mr. Kiran, Ada replied flatly. Kiran, get out! Lord Farron, feeling belittled, roared in fury. Kiran remained cool, asking calmly, What does the Yasuda Corporation behind you intend to do? We won't tell you, Ada responded coldly. Get out! Lord Farron bellowed. Lord Farron, your brother Haro Nijun must be lonely, Kiran sneered. You should die. Reminded of his brother's death and Kiran's taunt, Farron was humiliated and furious. Good brothers should stick together, Kiran said coldly, his murderous intent surfacing. Do you dare to kill me? I am, Lord Farron began. Do I need to lift a finger to kill you? Kiran looked towards Ida. Me? Ada asked with a light laugh. Lord Farron laughed heartily, looking at Kiran. You fool, she's my woman. She would kill for me, you. His words were cut short by a scream as he clutched his abdomen. He stared in astonishment at Ida beside him, who had just pulled out a dagger. Why would you kill me? Because you're a fool. That's why you must die, Kiran said with a cold laugh. A fool? Lord Farron, bewildered, looked at Ida. Ida, no longer the seductive figure from before, was now a cold, ruthless killer. Lord Farron, you really aren't too bright. Thud. With a heavy thud, Lord Farron's body crashed to the ground, writhing in agony as he entered the throes of death. The fear of death, the pain of the wound, and the shock were too much for him, and he died in despair and impotence, much like his brother. Young Master Kiran truly is unique, Ida remarked nonchalantly, ignoring the dying man and sitting before Kiran. She provocatively crossed her legs, the light highlighting her pale, dazzling legs, tempting to the senses and desires. Do you find me beautiful, young Master Kiran? She asked, half smiling. What do you think? Kiran leaned back on the sofa. I think I'm beautiful, especially in bed, she suggested flirtatiously. That's your feeling, Kiran replied, calm as ever. Perhaps my feelings are off. Maybe you can verify that for me. You're not worthy, Kiran dismissed her coldly. I'm indeed not as innocent and beautiful as Snowzander, Ada smiled charmingly, but I have my own qualities. What qualities? Kiran inquired. I can help you destroy the Yasuda Corporation, Aida declared, her beautiful eyes sparkling with vitality and confidence, her long eyelashes fluttering with energy and self-assurance. I think you're mistaken, Kiran laughed. What did I get wrong? Ada asked. You should be thanking me. I let you be yourself here and even gave you a voice. Otherwise, you'd be nothing. Isn't it normal for a man to do something for a woman? Ada stretched her arms as if yawning, showcasing her slender, beautiful arms. Kiran, however, wasn't looking at Ida, ignoring her completely. Ida was slightly shocked, looking at Kiran. Aren't you a man? That's none of your concern. I just want to know what you can offer me, Kiran countered. I offer myself and the money of the Yasuda Corporation. Ida looked at Kiran, her face calm but filled with anticipation. Smiled slightly. What if I'm not interested? That can't be. If you weren't interested, you wouldn't be sitting here chatting with me. Ada stood up and suddenly revealed her beautiful and naked form under the light, like a pristine goddess. But to Kiran, she appeared filthy. Your effort is futile, he remarked. So calm, young Master Kiran. Now I'm even more eager to collaborate with you. Ada smiled radiantly. Chapter 697. Kiran remained silent, simply looking at Ida. I was the former secretary to the chairman of Yasuda Corporation, Ida told Kiran. Kiran still didn't speak. Ida continued. After he got a new secretary, he discarded me like an old toy and sent me here. She glanced up at Lord Farron's corpse. I thought I would be in charge of this investment in Bayville, but instead they sent him to manage it and made me accompany him. Ada scoffed. Konta Yasuda just wanted to get rid of me completely to mess around with that wretched new secretary. Since he's shown me no loyalty or compassion, I see no reason to hold any for him. Looking at Kiran, she added, all I hope for is that after Konta Yasuda is disposed of, you can help me take his place as chairman. Are you sure I can do that? Kiran asked with a half smile. I wasn't sure at first, but seeing how Fukada ran away, I started to believe it might be possible, Ada said, looking at Lord Farron's corpse. He brought Fukada here to protect him, thinking you were too powerful. Little did he know, Fukada would end up helping you kill Haro Nijon before fleeing himself. Probably scared out of his wits. Kiran didn't explain, but thinking about the distasteful goo mistress, it made sense that normal people would be terrified. Tell me everything you know about Yasuda Corporation. Do you agree to help me become the future chairman? Ada asked expectantly. As long as it's feasible, I'll help you. Great. Ada sat in front of Kiran, not forgetting to try and seduce him. If you want to talk business, put on some clothes, otherwise get out, Kiran reminded her, clearly annoyed. A bit disappointed that Kiran remained unmoved by her charms, Ada quickly turned and went inside to dress. She returned and said, Yasuda Corporation is a venture capital firm. Its core strategy involves manipulating key economies abroad to create market fluctuations from which I profits. Ida paused, looking at Kiran, who remained silent, and continued. Konta has worked in international venture capital for many years and is very well connected. Our biggest investor in Dragonsland is Power Hub Investment Group, controlled by 5 foreign capital firms, including a stake from Yasuda Corporation. Thanks to his good relations with the other 4 capitals, Konta managed to easily secure the Dragonsmount project from Power Hub, she added. Kiran's eyebrows twitched, surprised by Yasuda Corporation's strong financial backing. Ida, why does Yasuda Corporation want to buy Dragonsmount? I'm not sure of the details, but Konta instructed us to deliberately demolish Dragonsmount, flatten it, and then develop it. Demolish it? Kiran's face turned cold. Yes, Marcus and the others were sent to find the exact spot for demolition, Ada explained. Kiran sneered, his annoyance apparent. Thinking about the pollution of Maui's dragon veins and now the plan to gather yang energy from Dragonsmount to restore the veins, it was clear. Yasuda Corporation's goal was simple, to destroy the dragon veins. Ida, I'm starting to consider supporting you for the chairman position, Kiran said. Really? Ada asked joyfully. From now on, I'll create various conflicts for you at Dragonsmount, making you feel frustrated and causing financial losses, Kiran plotted. Ada nodded eagerly. I'll do whatever you say. First, you need to take charge, Kiran instructed. No problem. I'll report to Konta about Lord Farron's death right now. Ada quickly took out her phone and called Konta. Kiran texted Lindsay Ludwig. I need to see you within 2 hours. Ada's call connected, and a man's authoritative voice came through. Ada. Mr. Yasuda, there's been an incident. Ada feigned panic. What happened? Fukada, under pressure from Kiran, killed Haro Nijun. Lord Farron tried to avenge his brother but was also killed by Kiran. She lied. Damn it, Konta cursed angrily. Sir, Ada quickly responded. What about the others? Marcus, Leo, and the others went to Dragonsmount to find the demolition site. I just returned to find only Lord Farron's corpse in the room, Ada said. How do you know Kiran killed him? I saw Kiran leaving the hotel when I came back. Damn it, Konta cursed again. Mr. Yasuda, what should I do? I'm scared. What are you scared of? If Kiran kills again, call the police. Konta paused. From now on, you're in charge of Yasuda Corporation's operations in Bayville. Report any problems to me immediately. Ida's phone was on speaker. She was thrilled to hear this and looked at Kiran, who nodded. She continued to play anxious. I want to come back to be by your side. Useless, Konta scolded. Sir, Ada acknowledged obediently. Do well, then come back! If not, Kanta ended the call without finishing. Ada sighed with relief, turning to Kiran. It's settled. Kiran watched her, amused internally. She's a good actor, but better as my dog. Let's start tomorrow, Kiran said, standing up to leave. Thank you, young Master Kiran. Ida respectfully saw him off. Kiran left the building and got into his car to leave. As he drove away, his phone beeped. Seeing it was Lindsay Ludwig's number, he answered. Where are you? Lindsay's voice was excited. You are here? Kiran asked. I'll be off the highway in 20 minutes, she replied. You're quick. It's only been a moment, Kiran noted. Since your first call, I've been speeding all the way here. Lindsay's voice was filled with restrained joy. I'll wait for you at the South Bayville Highway exit. Kiran hung up, started his car, and drove off. From upstairs, Ada watched Kiran's car leave, a sly smile crossing her lips. A woman must have the power to control a man. Kiran, you little man. She licked her fiery red lips, took out some powder from her bag, sprinkled it on Lord Ferran's corpse, and watched it disappear. Lord Ferran was gone without a trace. Minutes later, Kiran arrived at the highway exit, spotting a sports car parked by the roadside with hazard lights blinking. He parked, opened the door, and walked towards the sports car. The sports car door opened, and Lindsay elegantly stepped out. Chapter 698. A pair of legs encased in black stockings elegantly emerged from the car, touching the ground gently with a captivating grace that drew all eyes. Dressed in a black miniskirt, Lindsay Ludwig stepped out lightly, her fair arms glowing under the night lights enhancing her allure. Her beautiful face, adorned with light makeup, radiated with a stunning beauty that, coupled with her mature charm, seemed like a midnight enchantment materializing before everyone. As she exited the car and saw Kiran York approaching, she quickly ran towards him. Her perfect curves, accentuated by her movement, her hair flying and waist swaying, glimmered with charm and limitless allure. Her face was filled with joy and excitement, an indescribable allure radiating. Kiran, she called out, her voice trembling with excitement. Kiran, however, looked slightly annoyed. Unperturbed by his expression, Lindsay was only focused on her excitement, akin to seeing a lover. She reached him and immediately hugged him tightly, causing Kiran to feel as though his chest was being squeezed uncomfortably. Before he could speak, Lindsay cooed flirtatiously. Spank me. Kiran was about to respond, but swallowed his words. Was this woman crazy? The next second, Lindsay parted her red lips slightly, her soft tongue reaching out to kiss him. Kiran quickly dodged, but Lindsay was determined and planted a kiss on his cheek. Giggling, Lindsay jumped up, wrapping her legs around Kiran's waist. I've missed you so much. Kiran was speechless, thinking, has this woman lost her mind? Her forwardness was like that of an overly familiar acquaintance, nowhere near the composure expected of a CEO. Regardless of what you think, I'm in love with you now. I want to be your woman. If you don't want me, then kill me. From laughing a moment ago, Lindsay now sobbed in Kiran's arms. Kiran was initially furious, resenting her for selling Dragonsmount to the Yasuda Corporation, but her tenderness made it hard for him to stay angry. He coldly asked, Aren't you afraid I'll kill you? Not afraid. Even if you kill me, it won't stop me from confessing my love, Lindsay affirmed. Smack. Despite being moved, Kiran couldn't help but slap her bum. Lindsay moaned softly, pressing herself even closer to Kiran, radiating affection. Kiran was so startled by his own action that he quickly withdrew his hand. He hadn't expected her to be so bold. I'm all ready for you. Lindsay's voice poured over him like gasoline, igniting his frustration. Enough, Kiran exclaimed, his mind reeling from her words. Are you not angry anymore? Lindsay looked up at him, her face wet from tears, yet her eyes sparkled with joy and desire. What are you planning to do with Dragonsmount? Kiran asked. Can we talk about it somewhere else? Lindsay suggested sweetly. Let's go, Kiran said, setting her down and heading back to his car. Lindsay nearly fell, quickly grabbing Kiran's arm. I'll ride with you. What about your car? I'll have someone pick it up. Without waiting for his agreement, Lindsay followed him, calling someone to take care of her car. Kiran started the car and drove away. Lindsay sat in the passenger seat, her eyes filled with a dreamy bliss. They arrived at the hotel. As Kiran tried to get out, Lindsay suddenly bent down and leaned over his lap. Get up, you're crazy, Kiran yelled. Lindsay giggled and looked up. I know. Kiran glared at her, aware of her intentions. Women have their unique styles. Lillian Yanis was too beautiful to approach. Snow Xander was the blend of cuteness and beauty, a perfect wife. Lindsay Ludwig, a mature and sensual woman, brought a different flavor. Even though Kiran couldn't sleep with women, it didn't mean he was immune to their charms. But he hadn't expected such boldness from her. They got out of the car. Lindsay clung to Kiran's arm. I haven't checked out of my room yet. We can go straight there. Kiran was just going to ask if she wanted a room. They arrived at her room, and Lindsay was on the verge of another outburst. I have serious matters to discuss, Kiran interrupted her before she could start. She stopped abruptly, then smiled sweetly. What's so serious? Being in bed is serious too. If I could have your child now, nothing else would matter. Kiran was tempted to beat her up thoroughly, but instead glared. What role does the Ludwig family play in the Power Hub investment group? Hearing Aida Misa's words earlier, he saw the Ludwig family as mere puppets or dogs of the investment group. We have no power. Lindsay's expression turned serious, her tone solemn. Our family is just trying to protect itself. Protecting yourselves? Lindsay nodded. Exactly. If we don't obey, it could be the Zimmer or the Wagner family in charge tomorrow. Kiran's expression darkened. The world is fair, isn't it? There's no free lunch. Do you Ludwigs just want to be dogs? I'd be your dog, Lindsay replied, her eyes twinkling as she laughed. Any kind of dog you want? Pervert. Kiran scoffed, knowing what she meant. Do you want to change the current situation? I want to be your woman. I'd follow my husband. Lindsay clung to him again. Kiran looked disgusted. From now on, cooperate with me. What position do you need? Lindsay swayed. I practice yoga. I can do difficult positions too. Kiran was about to walk away in frustration, full of contempt. Her mind was full of trash. How about we take over Yasuda Corporation? Lindsay changed the subject just as Kiran was about to explode. Kiran was surprised by her suggestion. His anger momentarily paused. When I knew I couldn't stop Yasuda Corporation, I sold it on purpose, leaving it for you to deal with them. Lindsay became serious. I know that you can allow me to buy Dragonsmount. You won't kill me if you love me, but the Yasuda Corporation is courting death. You're too narcissistic, Kiran grumbled. I love you, regardless. Chapter 699. It seemed like ages had passed since their last encounter, and now Lindsay Ludwig clung to Kiran York like a shadow, nearly in a frenzy at his mere presence. She likely figured Kiran wouldn't actually harm her, so she behaved quite casually. Kiran glared at her sharply. Don't forget you have a sister. Big deal, you could just take us both. Lindsay blushed slightly, half-joking. Or you could sneak around with me secretly. I won't accept any man but you. I'm not interested in a married woman, Kiran retorted, teasing her. That was a sham marriage. The guy died before he even saw me, Lindsay hurriedly explained. A widowmaker, that's ominous. If it means I can be with you forever, so be it, Lindsay said nonchalantly. Kiran was speechless. He knew arguing further would only infuriate him. Finally, he sighed irritably. Lord Farron from Yasuda Corporation has died. Now Aida Misa is handling their developments in Dragonsmount. You killed Lord Farron? Lindsay dropped her teasing tone and turned serious. It wasn't me. Kiran began to explain the situation. Wow, you really pulled that off, Lindsay exclaimed, utterly impressed by Kiran's capabilities, especially how he managed to subdue Aida Misa. Kiran was bemused by her overreaction. Just now, that commanding presence, was it because of my allure or because of Aida Misa? Because of my wife, Snow Xander, Kiran replied dryly. Trying to fool someone, Lindsay scoffed, not buying it. Or is it that woman from Sunland who seduced you? You know, those women in Sunland movies. Lindsay burst into laughter upon seeing Kiran's frustrated look, fluttering her eyelashes playfully. I think you've got the potential for those kinds of films. If you're not jealous, then set it up, Lindsay challenged boldly. If you play the lead, I'll agree to all your demands. There's a first time for everything. Lindsay smiled seductively. Kiran quickly shifted to business. From now on, you and Serena Zimmerman's investment company will start working together. And I'll arrange to funnel money from Yasuda Corporation into Serena's company. Is that useful? Lindsay frowned, becoming serious. Suddenly, she became cool, detached. You'll launder their money. Our Ludwig family might be in danger, Lindsay pointed out. What does it matter if the Ludwig family is in danger? Kiran's eyes held a cold mockery. Don't forget, your family should have been long gone. Fine, you're not really going to kill me, Lindsay responded, feigning annoyance. This way they lose money, and Yasuda Corporation compensates us. The other 4 consortia will definitely become enraged and expose themselves, Kiran analyzed. Aida Misa has really screwed the Yasuda Corporation and those 4 consortia, Lindsay mused after hearing Kiran's plan. It's not your money anyway. Why bother about them? Kiran was unconcerned. I'll follow your lead. Lindsay raised her hand to adjust her hair, her charming features brimming with allure. I have one condition. What's the condition? Let me have your child. Lindsay looked at Kiran seriously. Thinking of his love spell, Kiran dismissed her outright. In your dreams. He stood up to leave. Just so you know, even if you disagree, I'm still going to have your child. Daydreaming. With that, Kiran walked away. We'll see about that, Lindsay called out after him, laughing. You'll see how great I am, how beautiful. Delusional. Kiran was already out the door. Hearing the door close, Lindsay wasn't saddened. Instead, she felt happy. Today's meeting with Kiran had been devoid of the previous anger and conflict, and she suddenly realized she had deeper feelings for him. And it seemed Kiran wasn't as harsh with her anymore. Filled with anticipation for their future, Lindsay looked forward to more. Kiran, however, was only thinking about the business collaboration as he drove away. Living across from Lindsay, Yvonne Quinn had witnessed the entire exchange, feeling increasingly frustrated and upset. Even though she had traveled with Kiran to Maui and Fawkes, their relationship hadn't become as close as Lindsay's bold and fiery demeanor suggested. Was Kiran also interested in such a woman? She started contemplating how to make Kiran like her. When Kiran returned home, he found Snow, Xander, and Serena waiting up for him. A surge of happiness filled him. Serena stood up, her eyes twinkling mischievously. Kiran, you smell like a woman's perfume. Snow remained calm, trusting Kiran. Don't leave just yet, I need to talk to you, Kiran quickly said, thinking Serena was about to leave. Are you suggesting a threesome? I wouldn't mind, Serena joked flirtatiously. Your mind's in the gutter, Kiran scolded. It's a natural desire, Serena teased. All right, I have a task for you, Kiran said. What is it? Serena asked, winking at Snow. You wouldn't be asking me to have a baby, would you? Snow blushed at the insinuation. How's the investment company you started doing? Kiran asked. It's up and running. We've made some investments, but the results are mediocre so far. Serena became serious. The investments aren't the point. It's about cooperating with me, Kiran thought for a moment. From now on, you'll be working with Lindsay Ludwig's Power Hub Investment Group. Kiran explained his plan. Serena looked thoughtful. Aren't you risking provoking all 5 consortia into a joint attack against you, putting you in a defensive position? Don't worry, Kiran assured firmly. Okay, Serena agreed. Research the specifics of the collaboration tomorrow and let me know. Kiran paused briefly. Tomorrow. I need to focus on developing the hospital in Dragonsmount. Got it. I'll prepare tonight. Serena nodded and left. Kiran and Snow were left alone. Snow looked at Kiran. Chapter 700, is the situation getting too complicated? Snow Xander asked. Kiran York walked over and gently embraced her, speaking softly. It's all right. We need to quickly resolve the Dragonsmount issue now. But what if Yasuda Corporation goes crazy because of Dragonsmount? She worried. I'm actually hoping they go crazy. Kiran thought about protecting the Dragon Vein and was eager for them to act rashly so that he could resolve the issue quickly. Snow looked at Kiran silently, still concerned. If our enemies don't die, it means we die. We have no choice but to go all out. Kiran's tone was resolute. Snow pondered and nodded in understanding. Don't worry, I'll make them wish they were dead, Kiran confidently declared. Snow smiled sweetly. You should just spend more time with me. I really want to have a child with you. I'm looking forward to being a mother soon. Feeling her genuine love, Kiran embraced her. Once I rid myself of the poison, I'll definitely have a child with you. The natural way, I can't bear it otherwise. Snow's eyes sparkled with joy as she hugged Kiran around the waist, her face beaming with happiness. 2 persons, 2 hearts. Very close. The next day, Kiran arrived early at Xander Corporation. Upon seeing Kiran return safely, Onyx Kirkland was thrilled and quickly approached. Young master! Kiran felt this warmth and nodded. Take people to Dragonsmount to build the hospital. Right away, young master. Onyx didn't ask further and immediately agreed. Kiran drove first to Dragonsmount. In less than half an hour, various vehicles arrived at Dragonsmount. Seeing the area fenced up, everyone was shocked and angry, all eyes turning to Kiran. Tear it down. With a surge of anger, Kiran stood back, hands behind him. Start, commanded Onyx. The bulldozers moved forward immediately and began their work. The excitement and anticipation were evident in the eyes of Onyx's men. Ida rushed over when she was informed of their actions. Now alone, with Marcus Leo trapped on Dragonsmount and others dead, she enjoyed a newfound freedom. When she arrived and saw the impressive scene, she wanted to worship Kiran for his audacity. Yet, she pretended to be furious and shouted as she approached. What are you doing? This is an illegal invasion of our property. Kiran looked over and saw Ida in a black sheer dress, her chestnut hair flying about in her anger. Despite her beauty and pale complexion, her eyes betrayed her joy, softening her features rather charmingly. Her awkward Dragonsland language heard by Onyx and his men naturally reminded them of certain movie scenes, filling them with joy and eager anticipation. Kiran pretended not to hear. Disappointed by his lack of reaction, Ada recalled her overt seduction the previous day. She was naked and seductive, but he was not interested. Today, she dressed up and thought she was charming, but again, he was uninterested. She looked down at her low V neckline. It was obvious enough, fair enough, and voluptuous enough. Was it still not enough? Seeing the leering looks from the others, she realized it wasn't her lack of allure. Kiran simply wasn't interested. Reluctantly, she swayed her legs sheathed in black stockings, allowing glimpses of skin to shine under the sunlight, extremely tempting. Onyx's men were practically drooling, yet Kiran remained unaffected. Aida was disheartened. Kiran was a man she didn't understand. Dragonsmount is now Yasuda Corporation's property. What are you doing? Ada feigned outrage. Dragonsmount is an ancestral site of the York family, and we are here to build a hospital, Onyx stepped forward to explain. Nonsense. How come we didn't know about this? Dragonsmount belongs to us. Ada raised her voice deliberately. If you didn't know, ask Power Hub Investment Group, don't ask us, Kiran rebuked coldly. You're causing destruction. Who else should I ask? Ada retorted. I'll answer that. Just then, Lindsay Ludwig's voice came through. Ada paused upon seeing Lindsay, worried she might disrupt the act. This Dragonsmount, when I bought it, the land was York family's. We had an agreement to build a hospital here, Lindsay explained. Lindsay was in a white mini-skirt and flesh-colored stockings, radiating a mature vitality. As she spoke, her slim eyebrows relaxed, her nose straight and beautiful, her nostrils flaring slightly, her red lips parted to reveal gleaming white teeth, adding to her allure, tempting one to kiss her. Now the two women stood together, contrasting Ada's seductive frivolity with Lindsay's dominant and regal confidence. Kiran didn't know why Lindsay had come, but he stood by, ready to enjoy the spectacle between the two women. Ms. Ludwig, are you sure about this? Ida, realizing Lindsay was aiding Kiran, relaxed but feigned concern. Absolutely sure. Lindsay raised her fair face towards Kiran. I'm sorry I couldn't build the hospital in 7 days. Ida's woman's intuition told her that Lindsay was helping Kiran, and she felt reassured. She deliberately furrowed her brow. Ms. Ludwig, since that's the case, what do we do now? Now it's between you and Kiran. I won't intervene, Lindsay declined coldly. Ada was even more pleased. Ms. Ludwig, I'm calling Yasuda Corporation's CEO now. Can you confirm this? Yes, Lindsay frowned but agreed, realizing Aida also wanted to help Kiran. Suspecting a private affair between them, she glanced at Kiran to verify. However, Kiran ignored her, his gaze fixed on the distant Dragonsmount. Lindsay couldn't understand. She had heard Kiran was here to build a hospital, and concerned that Yasuda Corporation might intervene, she came to help. Why did it seem she was unnecessary? Onyx and his men were also puzzled. Could it be that the women took the initiative because the man was handsome? Ida was already dialing Konta Yasuda's phone.